We're talking about Matthew Stafford.
Yes.
We're talking about it's just kind of a weird thing. They seem to be heading for a little bit of a divorce.
Well, let's talk about just ramming it in.
Yeah.
I don't think it's weird.
Hi, I'm a balloon. Bye.
There it is. Because, I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
It's, Matt Stafford. It's probably the most interesting story of the offseason.
Yeah.
They were a stone's throw from beating the Eagles in Philly.
Yes.
And I don't know if you know this, but the Eagles won it all.
Yep.
Did you know that?
They had him. Again, all they had to do was block Jalen Carter, and Stafford throws a wide open touchdown there, and thanks for coming.
So that's a good team. So what happens with Stafford is really interesting, and they're just kind of playing a mean game of chicken because Stafford is older, hurt some, and while very good, he's saying, well, hey, you should pay me $50 million a year. And the Rams are like, I mean,
why don't you go
we
see what else
like
is out
you,
there?
but I mean, do we need to do that? What else is out there? So the 4 teams that have shown interest, according to reports, did you like how I did that?
I did. It's a very Jason Swigart-esque.
Giants, Browns, Steelers, and Raiders.
And 2 of those I can make a strong case for. 1 I can make a really strong case for. 1 I can see it. The other 2 are bad franchises doing bad things.
I think is that 5?
That's 4. I said 1. I said 2 I can make a case, and I actually said 1 I can make a very strong case.
And then the other not.
The other one is okay. I can see it. And then the other 2 I said are just bad franchises doing bad things.
I got you. So Steelers, you can make a case.
Steelers is the strong case, right? If you're the Steelers, ever since Roethlisberger left, you have been in no man's land, right? You have nothing going for you offensively. And yet every year with Mike Tomlin, you're not bad enough to end up in the top 10 and to get a franchise quarterback. And you tried with Kenny Pickett. That didn't work, right? You put a Band-Aid on it with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. That doesn't work. But you win 9 or 10 games. You get to the playoffs. You have a good defense. You're well coached, all of those things. And yet we know this team is going nowhere. Matthew Stafford, you could make a case that with Matthew Stafford, I still think you're going to have to address your offensive line, and you need a receiver that isn't a dumbass. Both your backs are free agents, but you can find running backs later in the draft. You can find them in free agency. If you can get a healthy 2 to 3 years out of Matthew Stafford, I totally see where the Steelers say, dude, we can win 10 games with the crappy quarterback play we have. Why can't we win 11 or 12 and actually make a run with Matthew Stafford? Again, it's a Band-Aid on a bleeding massive wound, but it's a wound that hasn't even had a Band-Aid on it in years. So that makes sense. The Cleveland one, I guess. Again, I thought a couple years ago, I thought you had a roster that was really, really talented, and I think some of that has been diminished. You've got a couple of your best defensive players that don't want to be here anymore. You got one of your best offensive linemen that's saying, I don't know if I want to come back. Are we really contending? That kind of feels like if you're Cleveland, this is a desperate attempt to try to stay relevant. I think Matthew Stafford in Cleveland doesn't particularly make them any sort of contender. I think, again, it just is kind of almost... I don't know. It's just a desperation, but I could see it. You can make a case. That's not a bad roster. The other 2, that's garbage.
Raiders and Giants.
The only thing you can say about the Giants is they know they're getting fired. Dable and their general manager both know that if they don't do something big, they're fired. And we talk about this all the time. When you allow a GM and a coach to come back when they probably should be fired, you almost seal your own fate. Because they start doing dumb things, not for the long-term benefit. They start doing things because they're like, well, we don't want to get fired.
Yeah.
And yes, bringing in Matthew Stafford maybe does enough to save your job, but you're going nowhere. And if you're Matthew Stafford, God, I hope you're not dumb enough to chase money by going to the Giants and getting your teeth kicked in. And then the Raiders is the one that I truly don't understand. You are so far away, if you're the Raiders, from being competitive, especially in that division. You're in the division with the Chiefs. You're in the division with an up-and-coming Broncos team. And you're in a division with a Chargers team that came in and basically tore it down to the studs and was still playoff-level team. And you think... with everything you've got going on, you think trading and then paying $50+ million for Matthew Stafford, who, by the way, is beat up every single year, you think that is going to do something for you?
Well, I don't get that. I don't feel like Brady and Carroll will do that. I know that I see why they're on the list, but I just feel like they're smarter than that.
I would hope so.
Because they know that now's not the time to pay $50 million to a quarterback.
Yeah, you just trying to sell tickets at that point?
The Giants, I see your point. They would do that.
Yes.
I think they could do that. I don't know that the Raiders will.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, the co-favorites to land Aaron Rodgers on DraftKings, Raiders, Rams, and Steelers.
Aaron Rodgers is a little bitch.
So Stafford and Rodgers are kind of linked.
Well, because you're getting, depending on which one you like better, and I don't know why you wouldn't like Matthew Stafford better at this point, but they're both the same thing. You're getting lesser versions, injury prone, 40 and into your late 30s. And
different versions of the same horse, basically.
Yes, and Stafford can be a little bristly, and you got some stuff that comes along with his wife and some headlines, and Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, but it only makes sense if you need a quarterback in a 2-year window that you think is the final piece. And that's why I don't understand when we hear the Raiders or even Cleveland. Cleveland's not winning a Super Bowl in 2 years.
Bang, bang.
So I just don't understand why this is like when the Blazers for all those years were doing a lot of crap to end up being the 8th seed in the West. Why? Why not? Especially when the Raiders, like you got new management in there and you're going with Tom Brady, right? And you're feeling like maybe you're trying to turn over a new leaf. Just wipe the slate clean and start taking more bites at the apple to actually build a real roster and find your quarterback that way. Because very rarely does going with an aging quarterback really end up with the result that you wanted. To be fair, one of those that worked out was Matthew Stafford. But Matthew Stafford wasn't that old when he came over, and he also came into a team that was right on the cusp.
So it's hard to believe that Dak Prescott is the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, but he is.
Yeah, he makes a lot of money.
He makes $60 million a year.
Yeah.
Smiles and glory holes.
And some of those, and remember, like Josh Allen and Burrow and Mahomes, they all have backloaded contracts. So
Allen's down there at $43 million. He's like 13th.
But look at where in a couple years where his.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just saying average per year.
Yeah.
Dak is number 1 at 60.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, and Tua. Those are your top 6.
Yeah.
Or 5.
Yeah, it's tough.
Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. And then if you paid Matthew Stafford $50 million a year on average, that's what he's asking for anyway.
Yeah.
That's where he would slot in. So when you look at it that way, it's not crazy.
No.
Because he's really good. He's better than a lot of the quarterbacks I just mentioned.
Sure.
So Rams have a decision to make. That'll be an interesting watch.
Yeah,
in the offseason.
If I'm a Rams fan, I'm hoping that you come to some sort of.
I bet they keep him.
I hope so.
I think McVay will keep him.
And if you don't, you better have a definitive plan because you're in a nice window here, right? You kind of went through the desert and you're like, oh, hell, after our Super Bowl.
I have concepts of a plan.
And you've come out on the other side and you're kind of smelling like a rose right now. Like you've managed to do this. You have flipped over your defense completely and have the youngest, cheapest, and one of the better defenses, certainly the best young defense in the NFL. And you got a pretty good stud receiver out there in Puka Nacua, right? You've got you found your back in Williams, who all of a sudden looks pretty good. And they've got $40-50 million to spend. And all of a sudden you're looking at this thing being like, hey man, we build 1 or 2 more O-linemen in here that we grab and we find another receiver to go along with Puka. Boy, we got something cooking here.
This is where a GM earns his money. I mean,
Yes.
not that GM hasn't earned his money there in LA. He's done a great job.
Yeah,
this is where when you get you got to get creative and make it work for him as well as you because they're way off on money. So
absolutely,
can you get that done? And that would be a testament to what is his name, Les Snead. I think.
Snead.
That'd be a testament to him if he can get it done. Now the Vancouver Ford text line says Stafford and Rodgers to the Raiders. How about that? Rotate in old quarterbacks, like 2 running backs. That'd be great. Tom Brady then puts on the pads and
just know that every time an Emmitt Smith signs with the Arizona Cardinals, just realize that never goes well. It never goes well.
Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl.
Well,
so it does go well.
Yeah.
You son of a bee.
Yeah. Although Peyton wasn't quite that level. But yeah, I mean
he was old.
I see where you're going.
A lot of people piled on Peyton, including you.
Defense,
and they won a Super Bowl.
That defense won the Super Bowl.